Welcome to the Art and Science of Complex Sales, proudly presented by Membrane. This podcast is your gateway to mastering the craft of modern selling. If you're passionate about growth, impact, and unlocking full potential in sales and revenue, you're in the right place. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And now let's get started with today's guest. Hey everybody, do not miss this episode. Today we're talking with Dan Kane of Curbell Plastics. Dan has a passion for the next generation of sales, and we're talking about how he's transferring that passion in his role at Curbell and building an internship program that is going to help generate the next level of sales professions at Curbell and beyond. So let's get started with Dan Kane. Dan Kane, welcome to the show. How the heck are you?
I am good. Thank you very much for the invite. I'm pretty excited to be here. And when you said, hey, I think there's something to talk about, I got pretty excited. So thank you.
Well, we're talking about the future of sales. That is definitely something to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about it. And, it's great to talk to folks that are in the space with us, that are working with, how is this going to evolve as things come up? AI, for example. So when I had the opportunity to meet you, when I got connected to you, I was like, all right, this guy understands, kind of my language. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's rock and roll. We do need to give a little shout out right first. Was it Colleen?
Yes.
You got
Yeah.
us? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Colleen. So Colleen, I think I always mispronounce her name. The amazing Colleen Stanley.
Yes.
I always say it's Colleen or Colleen. I don't know which one, but she's amazing. So.
Yeah, she's great. And the thing is, what you're not doing, so you're not calling her Colin. So one of my daughters, I have twin daughters. I have twins. One is Maria, one is Colleen. And so when I met Colleen for the first time, I told her, I love your name. And so my daughter, a lot of times, she's like, is it Colleen, Colin? I'm like, so at least you didn't call her Colin. So
no, not Colin. Or Colin. That'd be
no, I wouldn't go there. No, but Colin, my Colleen, she gets a lot, and we're getting a coffee. She gets a Colin. She's like whatever. But yeah, Colleen is great. Learned a lot from her in a very short period of time, and she's another person that's just inspiring to talk to about the things that she's done. I've read her books now, and just read the most recent one. And man, I tell you what, when you talk about what you and I are going to talk about, it's very fitting.
Mm-hmm. Well, that last one was named "Be the Mentor Who Matters," I think, and
yes.
and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how we drive the next generation of sales and how you're doing it with Curbell. But before we hop into that, why don't we start at the beginning, which is how did you get into sales?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons that I get so passionate about it, whipped up about it, because I'm one of these people that got into sales by mistake, right? I was educated in college to be an elementary ed teacher. So all I wanted to do was teach school. Graduated and had a little fun along the way in college. So I didn't necessarily graduate on time. So I graduated, get my degree, teaching elementary ed. I met my wife, my beautiful wife of 32 years. I met her in college as students, and we were team teachers at a learning center right outside of Pittsburgh. I did it for 8 months, and I realized this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I was a young 22-year-old guy. Some of you may know we're a little bit more immature than girls. So I was 22 and just a knucklehead. And so I was like, I'll just go get another job until I figure out what I want to do. And I had a friend whose son was running a collection agency, collecting delinquent student loans for Pennsylvania higher education. Got a job with him, and it was just smiling, dialing, and trying to collect delinquent student loans. And you know what it's like when a bill collector calls you. Nobody wants to talk to you. Mm-hmm. So I cut my teeth on the phone there, and I did that for almost 2 years, and I moved to Richmond, Virginia with that company. And once I got to Richmond, they decided to go to a call center. Talk about how technology evolves. They went from having multiple branches in the country to call centers. They said, hey, we know you moved here from Pittsburgh 9 months ago, but we'd like you to move to Mobile, Alabama. And I was like, I just brought my bride here, and her parents still probably haven't forgiven me for moving her away from Pittsburgh. So I sought out another job, and I got a job in sales with industrial metals distribution. And being from Pittsburgh, the company I worked for was a big distributor of metal. My dad worked for Alcoa for 40 years, and Pittsburgh were metal people, aluminum, steel. So I called my dad. He's like, "Hey, I know that name. They're a good company." So I started working there as inside sales, and I did that for 6 years. That's how I got into the sales jam.
And there you went from there to Curbell, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that
So, and that's where it's like I'll just do this until I figure out what I'm doing, and then I started doing it, and I loved it. I learned about collecting loans. What I figured out early was collecting debts. You don't have to be the bad guy. You just have to build a relationship with the person on the other end of the phone. I don't need all 5,000 today. How about 100, right? How about, and you start to build a relationship. So I learned early on, it's about how do you sell yourself to create a relationship, and that worked. So I enjoyed it. So the inside sales piece I really enjoyed, but what I figured out was, well, I'm helping people. It wasn't just like being an order taker. I was just helping people solve problems. So when I went from that, and then when I moved over to Curbell, it was for inside sales. And I wanted to be an outside salesperson. I had the experience, and I wanted to be more. I like the hunting side of it too. But Curbell said, "Hey, we currently don't have an opening for outside, but we have an opening for inside. Would you like to join the company?" And so I did. And here I am. I've been with the company. It'll be 23 years in February. Inside sales and outside sales. I've been a business manager since 2008. And I started running the Virginia location since 2008. And then 4 years ago, they asked me if I'd help out and run the Pittsburgh location for a few years. I did that. And so effective in January, my job's changing to a director of training position where I'll be working with strictly the training side of the business, the systems and processes, our sales system, how we go to market, CRM, and recruiting, and talking to this next generation of professionals. And I think that's why I get so excited about it, because I got into this by accident. I was talking to your friend Nick. I said to him, Curbell, they still pay me to do this. They've been paying me for 23 years to do this, right? But I say that I truly mean it, because I'm having fun, and I think I just want to be able to talk to these young folks coming out of school to say, like, this isn't a just because or an accident job. This is a career. So that's kind of, I could go on about that forever. I think that's why I have this sense of, I feel fortunate that I found it, and I just want other people to know how cool it is.
That's wonderful.
So,
And let me ask one more question about Curbell before we hop into this passion you have for the next generation. But tell me about kind of the model. So,
yeah.
And how it works today. Do you still have inside sales, outside sales?
Yes.
You're working all over the place? Okay.
Yes. So Curbell Plastics, we're a manufacturer's distributor of plastic, sheet, rod, and tube, engineering thermoplastics. So when you hear that plastic, it's not the single-use plastics, the bags, the straws, the forks. These are thermoplastics, engineering plastics that are going into automobiles, aerospace, airplanes, medical, food manufacturing. So we are a distributor of the raw material, and we also fabricate it. And then we're helping the end users solve problems, utilize these products, whether it's to make something lighter, to make something run smoother, quieter, cleaner, type of thing. And so another reason that I've been here for so long, I think, not here, but in the industrial environment, is because every day is a different day, right? And it's exciting because I am that, like I said, it took me a little while to go to college, right? I'm that student that it didn't take much to get me off topic. And so seeing 6 customers in a day and all 6 do different things, that keeps me engaged. It's motivating to me versus talking to the same type of people every day. So it's been fun.
And it's the type of stuff where you're looking at, like, say, I don't know your customers, but you'd be looking at a SpaceX and saying, yeah, we can design the 7 different seats or whatever they need within the rocket or whatever they have to do. And so it's a different engineering problem every time. It's an application of materials. And so it just gives you that opportunity to lets you understand and learn so many different industries.
Yeah, 100%. You hit it right on the head. And what it is, it's so we're B2B, so we're talking to those type of folks. And hey, these guys are building rockets, or planes. They're pretty smart people. We come in with them saying, this is the application, this is what we needed to do. Is there a polymer or a plastic? A lot of times they know what they want. They kind of have an idea, but they need some reassurance, and that's where we come in to be those trusted advisors and partners to help them solve the problem versus peddling, sticks of material or sheets of material. And then how we work, we have an inside sales and outside sales. Currently we've got 22 locations across the country, and all with inside sales and outside sales people. And then we've got business development gang in our corporate office. And Dr. Keith Hechtel is our director, vice president of business development and marketing. This gentleman, we talk to a customer, then it's like we have to bring Dr. Keith in or somebody from his team that are up here. Like I can hold my own on the polymer side for 23 years, but then when it gets to some of that, I'm like, ooh, I need to take it to Dr. Keith and his team, right? So we have that support. We have a brilliant marketing team, and that's how our marketing folks, they find these applications and these kind of customers that do the same thing our other ones do, and we just keep on, starting dialogue with them and help them solve problems. There's a lot of what's fun about sales. It's, for plastics, what we're doing is, we're helping identify needs, helping identify applications, solving problems. And it's a lot of times it's what we call failure analysis because they've already tried something else, and so that's what makes it fun. That's what, for me at least, that's what makes it every day a different day.
No, it's wonderful. And multi-stakeholder selling, large scale deals that you get to change companies, change worlds, change communities, change careers. That's brilliant. So why now then do you have this passion for the next generation of sales? Like that's how we got introduced was Colleen said, hey, you got to talk to this guy. He has got a burning passion to really build into the next generation. So we talked a little bit about why, but let's dive into that and then what you're doing.
Yeah, I think what it is. So as a business manager, we've got 20 some business managers that run the satellite. So corporates in Orchard Park, you got their satellite offices and we're distributing product across the country. So as a business manager, my responsibility, I'm a sales manager, right? My responsibility is managing inside sales, outside sales, the sales assistant, working with vendors, collaborating with vendors for their products, their materials, their applications, along with our folks at Curbell. And when you run a business, as a business manager running this business, people leave, people get recruited away, people change lives, right? And so you're always having to find talent. And so our corporate facility, we've got a wonderful human resources team and they've got recruiters. But we had a gentleman that was here many years ago that said, hey, you have to be recruiting for talent all the time if you're managing it. You can't depend on another part of the team. Yes, if they have someone to serve up, that's wonderful, but you have to always be recruiting. And so I got associated about 10 years ago with a local college here in Richmond, Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU. I went and did a career fair with them, and none of the students at the time wanted to be in sales. They're coming up like, I want to be finance major, marketing, but they didn't want to be in sales. And so they came back and asked me to come back to the career fair again. And I respectfully declined the opportunity. And I got a phone call. Why do you mind telling us what you didn't like about the fair? I said, your students were amazing. I had a wonderful time. Students were very, very well spoken, but nobody wanted to do what we were recruiting for. And so, and this young lady said, would it be okay if I have someone call you about that? I said, yeah, sure. So a gentleman called me that I'd met at the career fair who was responsible for starting their center for sales. He was just starting it. And he called me. Ironically enough, I had lunch with him today.
Really?
And so he was like, Dan, this is exactly what I've been talking about. We need to kind of generate this thing. So I started early. He would bring me into his classes to talk to students. And every time I would go talk, I would network with the whole LinkedIn. Get me on LinkedIn. I'll come buy you a cup of coffee. let's talk about sales, talk about a career. And so many students did that. They reached out to me. So I started networking. And then we we said, like, we should start an internship program, because the next step is all these students are saying, well, do you have an internship program? Because I'm looking for an internship. And so the folks here at Curbell, they gave me what we consider a stretch assignment. They said, Dan, if you, while you're, recruiting, if you want to put together an internship program, let's see what happens. And so I started a program here. And when I became the manager of Pittsburgh, reached out to a local college in Pittsburgh, and then we're an hour from Cleveland, so I reached out to Kent State over there. So I've got Robert Morris and Kent State, and now we're starting to work with. We had a student. We have a student right now that's getting ready to wrap up. He's an Arizona State graduate. He'll be a graduate this month. And it's just one of those things where you figure it out, and then you do it really well, and then you can start to duplicate it. And I was fortunate enough that our training manager for Curbell, her name is Ashley. She's been an absolute godsend, because I went to her with, can you help me organize this mess? And so she took my spreadsheets and my Word documents, and she turned it into real, curriculum on our learning system, on our e-learning system. It's very professionally done now, and it's just all the stuff that came out of here. And then we keep tweaking it and enhancing it. And I think the passion started because I realized what I told you 10 to 15 minutes ago. I wanted to go to school to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So all I wanted to do is be a teacher. Well, I realized now, reflecting back several years, I think I still want to be some type of a teacher, educator, but I don't think I picked the right, grade level of students or environment. And like I said a minute ago, I'm very passionate about sales because I feel fortunate to have been lucky enough to get involved with it. And I've got young kids. I've got a 21-year-old son, and I've got twin 19-year-old daughters. And I, I'm very content with the talent that we're meeting coming out of school, because I think a lot of these folks in this generation are getting a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
They're not engaged. They're not, they don't work hard. They want to scroll on their phones and TikTok which some of that's out there and it's true, but these are very smart individuals that have a lot of tools that we didn't have when we were coming through school. And so I think my biggest thing now is, how do we take everything that they know and that they're learning now with what we know, and how do we mesh that together? Because we are evolving forward, whether you like it or not. AI is here. I've heard some, we're never going to use AI. It's that's very closed-minded thinking. I don't think that's a good idea. And so I don't know. It's kind of like this program has really re-energized me to, the talent that's coming out, that we've got talent that's been out there a long time. And you know what it's like when, I don't know what in your industry, as you've been in sales, you got those people that stay in the industry but move from customer, or from company to company to company to company. Sometimes you're just picking up somebody that, obviously, if it didn't work out over there for a reason, you find out quickly when they come over here. So it's what if we could build the talent that fits our culture and train them the way we want to go to market? And it's
it's game changing. I've said this before on the show. I think I told you, but I had started a sales as a service business in 2007. The whole concept of it was grab people early, very early. So even first job out of college, if they didn't go to college, that was fine too. Find talent. So it's just find talent and build culture. And we became essentially a university. University is a strong word, but a school for salespeople. And I always felt it was a compliment when people got hired away. It was I want to be building a culture and a team that people want to hire from us. They want to poach like crazy, because it's means we're building good people. But Tell me a little bit about what would you say, like for a CEO right now? You mentioned the next generation, the younger generation coming out. What would you say to a CEO and say, hey, here's some advice on the next generation of sellers that's coming into the workplace? Um, how would you, what would you tell your CEO or other CEOs that are in a B2B environment about that next generation of sellers?
That's a very thought-provoking question because what I have found and what I think it is just like I said, like we have to be able to meet them where they are. We can't expect them to be this textbook professional that we think we want to have today. These are young people who are very, you know, they're moldable. They are, they're under the most pressure because of the whole social media thing and these phones that we have, right? This generation, they've got so much pressure that they put on themselves, quite honestly. But yet, we have as so if you have to be patient and you have to meet them where they are and try to understand them as much as we want them to understand us and conform to how we do business. This is how we've always done it, type of thing. We have to understand where they're coming from. We don't have to all be cool kids, but like we have to understand where they are, put ourselves in their
Mm-hmm.
shoes. Because one of the things that I've had success on here is, and I've had folks that work here at Curbell, my mentors and managers say, I don't know, these kids, they kind of relate to you. Well, I think it's because I try to relate to them. For example, I've hired folks from our Orchard Park facility that moved to Richmond, Virginia, 24-year-old young lady, rock star. She was with us for 5 years. She comes from corporate, from finance, a finance major. Well, guess what? She's moving from Buffalo to Richmond. I remember what it was like leaving Pittsburgh to come to Richmond. I wanted to visit every apartment she was looking at because her parents weren't here. Her parents were in Cleveland at the time. To say, I know the area. We're going to help you find a place that's safe for you, right? We had another guy that came from Texas A&M, and we brought him up through from he came to I hired him into Richmond. Same thing. I went and saw all his apartments with him, and he's like digging some of these cool apartments because of the location. I'm like, nah, I don't think this is good. I don't think you want to do this. And so I feel like taking that you have to be invested in them personally a little bit. You don't have to bring them to dinner every night and go take them shopping, but you just have to, I think, personally invested to understand they're young and they need mentoring, to where Colleen's book punched me right in the face, because they need to have, not only they're going to come in and do the job, like, hey, we're going to pay you, behave this way, be professional, we're paying you to do this job. I think we have to also be the mentor, like Colleen says, and try to understand who they are. And
Yeah.
I just think we have to have a mutual level of respect from both sides. Um, and that's what I would hope if my children go becoming professionals in the next couple of years. I would hope that their first employer looks at them that way as well, as an individual that's going to need some molding and it's going to skin their knees, versus just like, that axe to the grindstone. Like when we were coming up years ago, it's like, hey, here you go. Here's your desk. Here's your phone book. Go at it. Right. So that's a long answer to your question. I apologize, but I
It's a
think
great answer.
that's kind of where I think it. I just think we have to be able to understand who they are.
Well, and it's really one of the reasons we connected is you have this concept now of systemizing that level of care. I personally, I believe very, very similarly to you. I believe that the person is the thing that we invest in first. We need the systems and the tools and everything around them. But creating a system and a culture that does that is really, really cool. And that's what you're doing with this internship program, moving on to within Curbell. And what's the most important? Let's take that now from the flip side. So we talked about a CEO. What is the most important thing you'd say to a new sales rep? You do this every day. You say things to new sales reps all the time in this program, but what do you give? What advice do you give to young people that are
Yeah.
contemplating a career in sales?
So if they're already here, right, whether they're an intern or a new hire, one of my biggest things is you need to work on patience. You have to be patient. You have to understand, as the new person, it takes a long time to figure this out. And I have to be patient with you with your learning curve, right? So onboarding, what's great about an internship is for anyone that's hired folks before, hired talent, we've all had bad hires. We've all had that person that's amazing and then they come on and it doesn't work out quickly, right? It's very costly. Bring an intern in, you get to know each other. You start that dating period because it's a 12-week process of vetting each other. And I tell them all the time, we have to be a fit for you just as much. You want to be you have to fit us and we have to fit you. It's a two-way street. A career with somebody is a relationship. It's not a one-sided thing. And so I tell them, be patient. Don't beat yourself up. Do not compare yourself to people on LinkedIn or social media that, don't and have staying power. Don't chase the money. Don't say this isn't working out. I'm going to go over here after 6 months or a year. Don't go here, because you see that as well. You see a lot of folks that are moving around fast. It's like, give it 2 years, be patient with yourself, and raise your hand and ask for help. And that's it. Because I think sometimes people don't want to raise their hand because they feel like that's a sign of weakness. Like, oh, well, they hired me to do this job. I don't act like I don't know what I'm doing. So I tell them, the other thing I tell them all the time, Paul, is I didn't hire you because you're a plastics genius. I didn't hire you because I think you're a sales genius. We hired you because we saw something in you as a human that we think would be great to have you on our team, and that we'll teach you the plastics. We'll teach you how to go to market. We will teach you how to go and be a good salesperson that's going to help people solve problems versus, what the movies kind of make us out to be in sales. But that's really what I tell them. And I had a conversation with a young man just this week about that. Like, man, I said, you need to love yourself a little bit more because you're being really hard on yourself. It takes time.
Well, and it takes time. And then we talked about pre-show, like one of the things I think people may be coming in at a disadvantage on the younger generation is this ability to just sit down and chat and hold a conversation at all levels and be real comfortable and just build relationship human to human. Do you see that in market? That's just an assumption I have from I do coaching with high school kids, but do you see that? Do you see that being a skill that they need to work? You need to work more on with people, that patience and that
Yes,
relationship and developing a conversation. And
100%. And again, if you think about the talent that's coming out of school now and how old they are and how long these smartphones have been around, right? They're not used to communicating with the phone stuck to the wall where you have to walk to the phone and fight for the time on it, right? They could just text, and everything's instant right now. Like, I was getting on this call with you. The fact that I jumped in here and it said that you hadn't joined yet, I started panicking. I'm like, where's he at? Where's Paul? What did I do wrong? Right? It's like, dude, calm down, man. So I think this generation, they need that help to say, you can't build a relationship via email. You can't build a relationship via text. You have to have a conversation with another person. So my kids make fun of me. Everywhere we go, my son, his name is Dominic, and he says to me, he said, Dad, everywhere we go, you don't have to make a friend every time we go somewhere. Whether we're in a gas station or here, I'm always talking to somebody. He's like, Dad, you don't always have to make a friend. And my twins are Colleen and Maria, and we love coffee. So we go to coffee a lot of times on the weekend. And sometimes I'll say something. And Colleen said this to me just like 2 weeks ago. She said, Dad, you're just being extra. You don't need to be extra. I just wanted to have a conversation. A lady commented on my Pittsburgh Penguins. No, it was a Pittsburgh Penguins sweatshirt. And we're in Richmond, Virginia. So she's a Capitals fan. And I said to my daughter, I said, but she started it. She talked to me first, right? But I think that if we can get these folks to understand that the fastest way to be successful is to build a relationship, because it doesn't matter what age it is, people like to buy from people that they trust.
yeah.
How do you trust someone on an email that you don't know,
Yeah, it is. That's that word extra, Dad, you're being extra. It is because I'm very similar. I do the same thing. My kids they're looking at me funny, and I was like, hey, I'm just trying to get a smile, brighten the day, have some fun,
Right, right.
And it's like it's not extra, it's deeper, right? That's just where we're going is deeper, and I think that's a really, really critical skill to be working. So, hey, we're just about out of time now.
Yes, sir.
Let's do a couple things. Number one, give me your best word of advice to a an intern in your program, you bring them on, you're working with them, and you say, and like it's day one. What does Dan say day one to that intern?
So I've got three things to say. Number one is be patient. This goes from now, your first day, to the rest of your career in sales. Be patient with yourself. Number two, always be humble. No matter how much you know, nobody really cares. Always be humble and always be curious. Because if you're humble and curious and ask those questions because you have curiosity, you truly want to help somebody, doesn't matter what you're selling, doesn't matter what you're doing in sales, you will be successful.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And how do people find you, Dan?
I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best way. So my LinkedIn is Dan. It's I'm going to read it. It's Daniel hyphen Kane, Kane hyphen RVA for Richmond. So
Okay.
yeah, but you could just probably Google Daniel Kane Curbell and you'll get my LinkedIn. I
All
would
right.
love anybody if they connect, send me an email. That's how I coordinate a lot of my conversations with the students that I'm dealing with now. It's a wonderful tool. That's the fastest way. But I can't thank you enough for inviting me to be on here today. This is great. I could talk about this kind of stuff all day, and I appreciate what you guys are doing to help get the word out. This means a lot, and it's very helpful.
Well, it you know, and it ties directly into our goal is to elevate the sales profession. I'm very passionate about it. We do it through systems and partners. That's how we do it. I think the core of, you know, the platform that you're working in should actually empower you to be a better salesperson and to develop relationships more effectively and work more effectively. And so that's how we come at it from. But I love the stories, and let's keep after it, man. Keep shining bright. You're doing awesome.
Let's get ready to start, cranking out in January.
All right, let's go. Hey, everybody, make sure you're reaching out to Dan. Curbell Plastics, Curbell Plastics. If you are in the market for an internship, I would highly recommend you reaching out to Dan. So if you're a young listener, make sure you do that. Hopefully you're flooding his LinkedIn with talent. But most of all, I just want to thank him for coming on, sharing his passion, and helping to elevate the sales profession. So with that, from the Art and Science of Complex Sales, we will be signing off for today. Keep shining bright and have an amazing, amazing day.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.